Hello and welcome to Bay 1, this is Jafel Maraxi and today I'm doing another introduction to Robocraft video. This time I'm doing a video on Hovercraft. I know I've made one of these before, except under the current rules that craft is no longer viable. Instead I'm going to have to show you how to do a more conventional type design. This one is going to have some additional thrusters for additional forward acceleration. It will help out a little bit. We're going across the map. But anyway, we're going to need to start with 6 L1 hoverblades, a good number of blocks. You're probably going to want to be about level 4 to 5 to actually build this design. But at that point you should already have enough RP unlocked. So let's get started. The first thing we're going to want to do is build a base for the hoverblades to be mounted on. We don't want them mounted one apart, because if I had a hoverblade mounted on this side and another one on this side, if this block gets destroyed, both of those blades actually get destroyed. So instead we want to always make sure that they each have their own individual anchor point. So let's just add on one more layer here, and the same at the front. Let's grab the hoverblades. I've already gone ahead and purchased them all, and we want to make sure there's 2 blocks between each of them. The reason for that is so that we can put some additional armoring between them here. And okay, let's switch to prisms now. And we also want to make sure that we've got adequate armor around these. Actually, we're not going to extend it forward that much, so we just need the blocks on the back. And the most critical block on this spot is the one underneath the pilot seat, because if that gets destroyed you die. So we also need to make sure we got an additional layer of armor underneath here. I'm actually just going to block out all the way, not quite there, but all the way to there. So okay. Make sure we got those all. Now what we're going to do is also add some additional thrusters on here. So for this design that means we want to, again, making sure the thrusters are kept apart and not mounted onto the same block. Let's take those out and grab some L1 thrusters. This works a lot better with L2s because they have a lot more thrust in relation, but trying to make it as easy to build as possible. So, and ideally we'd actually want the first set of thrusters forward a little bit more, so let's redesign this section. The reason for this is if you have too much thrust on the back of a hovercraft, it tends to make it wiggle a lot. Okay, so let's move those. That's a lot better. And now we also want to add an additional layer of armor underneath. For this section, this is also going to be where we're starting to mount guns on it. So, pilot seat in the middle. See, we're going to want one gun here, so let's put these turrets on. Actually, we're going to need that out a little bit more, so I believe. No, that's too far. It will make sense what I'm doing with this section in a minute. Okay, now let's get prisms on the side here. These are actually going to need to be replaced by something else. Let's strip those out. And this is more for cosmetic looks than anything else. It also saves a little bit of, well, you could use prisms here instead of these, but I prefer the look of the inner blocks on those sections. And these are essentially the turrets on which the guns will actually be mounted. So we're good on both sides there. Okay. Let's get the rest of this finished off on the inside. Don't think I've missed anything. That's all looking good. Alright, let's actually get to building the proper turret emplacements then. So the first thing we need to do is actually build some what are these called? Well, these are the actual turrets, and the idea of these sections is that any damage that this block takes will not get transmitted through to the actual central block that holds the gun on. So it just gives you an extra couple of shots of protection. The one there I'm not so worried about. It's more or less just an additional anchor point for the center there, because most of the damage will actually be coming from the front or the side. So, and then it's just a matter of replicating the same build on each of these other sections. We're also going to want one on the front here. And one on the back as well. Let's just make sure we add some additional armor around the pilot seat there. That's good. And make sure we finish this turret off here. And then after this is complete, we should be onto the ones underneath. Oop, missed that one. And then one final addition here. That's just to add some additional protection to the side. And then we do the same thing here. One of the key things for any hovercraft is to make sure that the bottom is has more weight than the top, so this is why I actually have the hoverblades just on this level below the top there, and most of the weight below. Otherwise you'll have a tendency to flip, which can get annoying. It's fine if you're used to steering backwards, but yeah, it's just a general good design principle. It's quite possible to make a hovercraft that are designed to work equally well both ways up. And in many ways this will, because it's going to have the same number of guns on top and bottom. But it's just something you probably want to avoid because it can be annoying. Let's make sure we have those protection ones in. Missing the block there. And then again it's the same thing on the front here. Now for these ones I'm actually just going to build them straight across the center underneath. Just helps add a little bit more structural reinforcement across that section. And I placed that one wrong, let's reverse that. There we go. So that's all of the gun turrets, pretty much. Still got a couple of blocks of mist here. Okay, looks good. And the other additional feature that we're going to need to add here is we also need a point to add some radar onto this. So let's pull these blocks out here. The reason you want radar on any bot is because you get detection bonuses, so it's called scouting. So it's actually, that can be a significant amount of additional RP during the game, so never want to turn down any opportunity to gain RP. So we've got those two radar on the back there. Let's go ahead and grab some guns and get those put on there. For now I'm just going to use L1 SMGs. And we've got the same thing going on the bottom. Now we can probably add an additional one underneath there and not go over the CPU limit. Yep, we're good. I know this is a 600 block bot. It's kind of, I think it's a little bit high for the initial starting design, so you'll probably need to earn a fair amount, you know, get to like level 4 or 5 before you try and build this. And that way you should also be able to invest in the guns, etc. that are required. But let's actually show it in action. Okay, it looks like we've got a couple of level 2s in here. The primary target of this will be other white bots. You're going to have some trouble against any bots that have brown or green armor. Primarily because you're using the L1 guns to start with. So if we can actually upgrade to L2, that will make it a lot better. But let's get moving. And there's a faster hovercraft there almost, but this is still pretty heavily armoured. I'm going to go around the outside of the central section here. We want to make sure we get some of those detection bonuses. And I'm really sucking at hitting anything at the moment. One down. We've taken some fairly hefty damage, but we're still mobile. And we got 4 hoverblades left, but we're still good, so... Ooh, a little bit flaky there. And getting hit by plasma from somewhere. Ah, from over there. Now if you're having trouble controlling a somewhat crippled hovercraft, just get closer to the ground and that will actually stop most of your flipping issues. So you end up being a little bit more of a sled than a real controllable hovercraft, but it just takes a little bit of practice. And I'm just going to head over to the cap here. There we go. And it's still mobile, even given the, the majority of damage that's been taken here. Got 2 guns left, it's still a pretty good rate of fire with just those 2 guns. And again, 3 hoverblades, I can still control it, and that's one of the reasons for having those thrusters there. And we win. Now let's see how much RP I actually earned in this battle. It's not a huge amount of RP there, but we got 41 for damage, 42 for the kill, 18 for base capture, 120 for the victory bonus, scout, which is 55, so that's actually a pretty significant portion of the total. Assist 62, protection 19. You get protection by attacking bots, attacking your allies, and it's kind of like a revenge type thing. Defense if you're defending your own base, but overall it's 357 for that fight, and with 6 TP earned against a repair cost of 31. So let's go ahead and repair. The reason I've gone for this spacing on the design is so that we can actually upgrade this to L3s. For L3s you actually have to do a little bit of tweaking on the placement, so you've got exactly the same radius, but as you can see it won't actually fit unless you rotate it in the right direction. But yeah, this is fully upgradable using L3s there. You can upgrade the hoverblades to L2s. Probably one of the first upgrades I'd want to do personally is upgrading the thrusters within the design to higher tier thrusters, and that will actually take you up into the next tier. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that now. Although actually seeing exactly where you're placing this stuff is a little bit funky. There we go. And then let's also go ahead and change the guns to the L2 SMGs. So I'm going to have to actually buy a bunch more of these, so hold on while I just do that. I only need 5, so there we go. Actually, I did need that additional one. Wrong gun. And get him mounted in the middle. But if you do go to upgrading to L3s on this, you probably won't be able to fit the central gun in there, but that's no big deal. It's not really that much required, it's more for redundancy. But let's just give it a quick run like this. Actually no, there's another optimization you can do on here. If you have the chassis tetras, you can reduce a little bit of the top weight here by replacing these prisms here with tetras instead. The tetras have exactly the same armor, they have the same hit points, and they have the same hitbox. So a tetra takes up exactly, well, for hit detection, one of these tetras takes up the same volume as a normal full cube. So it always helps just to lighten the weight on any design like this, because it also increases your acceleration, your responsiveness and stuff like that. So anything you can do to actually optimize the weight is also always welcome. So let's just get these swapped out. Same thing here. I'm not so worried about replacing the ones on the bottom, even though this is still bottom heavy. But that would be another thing you could do to help with weight. Also, these blocks here, you can replace those with the tetras. And there's also plenty of space to add additional armor to this design as well. So you can add extra armor out this way, put in cubes here instead of the actual prisms. And you can have an extra layer of armor out here, the same on the back. And anyway, let's just give it a quick run like this and see how effective it is at tier 2. So we're entering a tier 2 match, still using the L1 hoverblades, although we've upgraded to L2 guns and L2 thrusters. And on this particular map, I actually like, if we're starting from this end, to go off to the right here. And there is a noticeable speed difference by just changing those thrusters out. Or at least it feels like it to me anyway. You do have to be careful of getting ahead of the pack like this. But we're coming up against a guy here. One down. Rest of the team to go. Looks like we've got a guy going back to their cap to defend. And all of these red contacts, we're getting scout rewards for this, so it really helps a lot. Yay, level 24. Now the onus is on them to actually come and attack us. And we are taking some damage. We're probably not going to be able to take on the entire enemy team just on the one bot. Yeah, it looks like the rest of the team's died. And I died. But still, that wasn't a bad outing considering. And let's see what I actually get for RP on this match. So looking at 560, only 3 TP earned this time, but still got a fair amount of RP considering. And the repair cost this time is 112, so it's a much higher repair cost. But overall, considering the RP you're earning, it's really not that much to worry about. Other upgrades you can do to this, obviously upgrading the armor. Go into the what armor options we got. Go into green or even teal armor. This design will easily work up to tier 3, or you can probably push it up to tier 4 using the L2 hoverblades. It should still be effective. So that's providing you actually upgrade all of the turrets to L3 cannons as well. But otherwise, yes, this is a very good introductory hovercraft, and it should take you or serve you well into tier 3 and even tier 4. But anyway, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Oh yes, please subscribe, top right corner. Thank you. Goodbye.